Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Statement Podcast. It's a podcast for investigations into miscellaneous tech topics.
This is episode 6 of The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. We'd love to hear from you. Send your comments and feedback to team@thkp.co.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Hello, Matt. How are you?
I am doing okay. I'm just wondering if you've ever created life in any form.
No. I mean, I don't have any kids or anything.
What about Aggie? Does Aggie count?
I think Aggie counts. Aggie's my dog, and I feel as though I created her.
Yeah. I mean, there was that one time. Do you remember that? Remember when we played Microscope? This is a game that you probably have never heard of, that listeners have probably never heard of, which they should look into if they're into
awesome.
Role-playing games or D&D. You do this hierarchical exploration through time in this manufactured universe. It's pretty weird. It's kind of hard to play, I think, but
It's like in playing, you're developing this epic lore.
yes.
I think the strengths of Microsoft is it sort of used the primitives of lore, which
Yes.
are chronologies, events.
Right.
I believe maps. I don't remember maps, but I think maps are a primitive of lore.
Yeah,
And,
they took kind of like a world building, primer on world building, and then turned it into a multiplayer kind of face-to-face party game. So
it's pretty sweet.
but so how this ties back is in our Microscope game, there were human dog hybrids. They were interbreeding.
Yeah, I remember the big conflict was it was the first dog president or something, and that was causing some sort of societal rift.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it came out that the candidate for dog president had owned a human, and that was pretty that was scandalous.
So insane.
Anyway, but so we're talking about life today.
The technology of life.
The technology, that is the name of the chapter, the technology of life, because this is the other wave. Last time we wrapped up our chapter on the technology of AI, right? Was it AI or was it? Yeah. So, and he thinks these are going to kind of synergize to be this crazy super wave, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And this, to me, this is the interesting. I mean, I feel like I keep saying this, so I'm probably sounding repetitive at this point, but you and I, we are completely immersed in AI all the time. It's all our friends talk about. It's actually kind of annoying, and I kind of hate AI at this point. But biology, I don't know anyone. I mean, sure, there's Fringe, there's that Brian, TikToker guy. What's that guy's name? Yeah, Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
That weird pasty guy who's spending millions to look pasty. To
his credit, he's been getting really good at being extremely pasty. So maybe it's all worth it.
He's optimizing for something. But yeah, I feel like there's this, and I'm saying Fringe not to sort of make it sound bad or anything, but I just feel like it's slightly on the periphery. People are using these new peptides, these GLP-1s. I guess that technology has been sort of iterating, and there's these new ones like retatrutide and whatever. Anyway, this all feels to me like it's sort of part of this wave that Mustafa's talking about. It's sort of the early, in the tidal wave when sort of the tide goes back, and anyone who's taken tidal wave class knows that one's about to happen, but most people don't realize it's going to happen.
Yeah. Are you into peptides? Did you just drop some random? I don't know. I've heard of peptides, but is there something we should know about?
I'm not into peptides. I have thought about taking Ozempic just because.
Yeah.
I am a person who has struggled with their weight, and it's a pain in the ass. And I feel like Ozempic is kind of a cheat code. But I even asked a doctor, and she was like, "You should not take Ozempic." I guess I'm not fat enough. But anyway.
All right. Well, here's a tip. Everyone who is thinking about taking Ozempic, Metamucil. Just my buddy referred to it as mucil maxing. You just take a few tablespoons of Metamucil, like spread out evenly spaced throughout your day. That's the poor man's Ozempic. It cuts your appetite like crazy.
Wait, what is? But I feel like there's probably some horrible side effect. Like,
oh yeah, no, it's disgusting. It's horrible. I really like. Mostly, I actually still do this, but the idea, like this thing just kind of like absorbs a bunch of water, so it kind of like bulks up in your stomach and like it makes you feel like you're full, even though it's not actually processed by your body as being like caloric intake, you know what I mean?
Okay. All right, well, there
you don't, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't actually endorse it, but it is something I do.
Nice. Yeah, well, I mean, and I think this segues nicely because this is exactly what Mustafa's talking about. It's like this stuff is going to become more mainstream. And what we are talking about is like medicines, basically. We're not even really talking about hacking biology, like literally going into your DNA and like changing it. And that's sort of the type of thing that Mustafa's getting into in this chapter.
Well, and this is kind of more in the latter half, so maybe we'll talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, so maybe it makes sense for us to dive into the material because he starts with a very brief kind of ramp up into the history here.
Yeah,
and talks about how like it's easy to think of, you hear GMOs and you think, okay, this is something that has been built in a lab, only in the last 10, 15 years or so. But if you take a step back, like humans have been genetically modifying organisms for like essentially since the agricultural revolution, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Gregor Mendel was like cross-pollinating various plants to try to achieve.
Dude, he was modifying the shit out of those pea plants, like in his abbey, and I don't even was he Hungarian? I don't know, but
that's a good question. Yeah, Gregor Mendel. I don't know what nationality that would be, but he was cool.
Was like a monk or something, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like so, the history here is kind of longer than you might imagine based on kind of the recent history. So, and then they really built the first genetic biotech company in like 1976, I guess, when they started to do, I think, what we think of traditionally now as genetic engineering.
Right. Yeah, and this was a company called Genentech.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a movie name. Like I'm like Genentech, isn't that like the company from I don't know, like Outbreak
from Office Space? I think maybe you're thinking of Initech because that's the company in.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it does. It sounds like one of those faceless corporations that's like really fucking up the world. I don't think they're that bad, or I don't really know anything about them. But
yeah, I mean, what were they doing? I wrote down they were manipulating genes of microorganisms, but I didn't write down like what they were actually trying to achieve. And
so they developed an engineered E. coli to produce a hormone, somatostatin, I guess. But so basically, like, that's by like genetic engineering to create some resource. So you just have some genetically engineered microorganism that like poops out some substance that you want. And in this case, I guess it was somatostatin, whatever that is.
Yeah. So, but the reason Mustafa's talking about this is because this was very early, like, actually manipulating biology, not just like breeding things or husbandry or whatnot. This is like you are chemically going into E. coli and you're changing it in order for it to produce some other byproduct. And he gets into human genome sequencing, which I feel like people of my age, this was like a big deal. Like when I was a kid, it was like everyone was talking about sequencing the human genome, and I just remember this being this like massive thing. And Mustafa talks about how I guess it took 13 years, $1 million endeavor, which, man, that sounds so like...
No, $1 billion.
Oh, is it billion? Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I'm pulling a Dr. Evil. But yeah, thousands of scientists to unlock 3 billion letters of genetic information making up the human genome. And I think it's important to just reiterate that this took 13 years and cost $1 billion, because now human genome sequencing, it's under $1,000. And it happens in a fraction of the time. I think they said something like under a day. You can which is just absolutely insane. But I mean, and that's how this stuff works. It's like you start out, you sort of blaze the trail, but it's, filled with all these foliage that you have to hack through with a machete. And then the next guy who comes through, it's way cheaper and way faster.
That guy can walk that trail 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and this is like, it's funny. I had the exact same note in my notes, or wanted to make the same call out. It said it dropped 1,000,000-fold, like the price dropped 1,000,000-fold in 20 years, which was 1,000 times faster than Moore's law, which is insane because Moore's law is already this comment on like the insane increase in the production, like the number of transistors. And now we have a process that's operating 1,000 times faster, So, I mean, I don't think, I don't know that Mustafa Suleyman is like arguing that it's going to continue upon that crazy trajectory, but it is nevertheless kind of like stark how insane the improvement has been.
I think it's a testament that we are kind of cracking it wide open,
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked on the podcast before about the protein folding thing, and we're going to talk about it again because it comes up again. But like, we really are it's like we're figuring these big problems out. These are big problems that were identified in biology like decades ago, and we're getting them. And I guess, so now we're sort of entering this modern phase of biohacking. And there's a technology where I wanted to say what the acronym stands for before I say the actual acronym.
Yeah.
Clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. Clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, which is CRISPR, which is this technology where you can essentially go into DNA and change it. You can literally alter DNA in any way, almost like computationally. Like you can write computer software to change the DNA of something.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like, I think this really allowed us to snip out, like, and the name of this subsection is DNA scissors. And it's like, with CRISPR and Cas9, you can like grab this incredibly precise sequence, so basically, this fish has bioluminescence. You figure out what part of the genome does that, and it's like, okay, I want that gene. Like, all right, here we go. And CRISPR-Cas9 will allow you to just snip that section out, and then you can go, jam it into, I don't know, me, like make me bioluminescent.
Yeah, dude, that'd be pretty sweet.
That would be sweet. No, they're not there yet. But yeah. So, and this is kind of what Mustafa talks about as like the read path, I guess, of the DNA, like the progressing in DNA technology, and then he kind of moves over to the right path, quote unquote, where you're actually able to take that. Well, and I guess there's kind of two sides of the right path, which is like actually generating those DNA sequences, like going from like a digital representation of A, T, C's, and G's to the DNA representation. But then there's the protein synthesis, which is like a whole nother layer. So I guess, did you get a sense for these DNA printers? Like, was that problem 1 or was that problem 2?
I did not get a strong sense of that. One thing I did want to call out. Yeah, one thing I did want to call out, which might be related to what you're saying, is this really cool quote. Biology is the ultimate distributed manufacturing platform. Synthetic biology will enable people to more directly and freely make whatever they need wherever they are. And I think this is like to me, this was kind of the quote of the chapter, because this isn't something you think about very often. You don't think about biology as sort of a manufacturing platform, right? You think about biology as something that's only vaguely able to be controlled, and difficult to interact with, and takes a long time to like accomplish anything in biology. Like you have to take some pill for years in order for it to affect you or whatever. But with these unlocks, with sequencing the genome of something and having something like CRISPR where you can literally splice in new DNA, or do what you were saying, take in illumination, bioluminescence, and sort of splice it into some other creature, you start to think of biology as this like manufacturing platform where you can sort of like create things at will. And I think the reason he says it's the ultimate distributed manufacturing platform is because biology is so cheap and it's everywhere. And it's like, the minute we figure out a way to sort of like, oh, take this gene that like gets, fights this type of cancer, and then, oh, let's proliferate it in this virus. And, we know this virus can sort of like proliferate itself within a human in this way. Like we are going to start to unlock some of these superpowers, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to, all sorts of different things. And I think it's exciting to me. I don't know. Like, I think it's kind of scary, but it's also like kind of cool what the possibilities are.
Oh, 100%. And like, I think what it is biology has single like atom, single molecule precision. Like that's what you're like the level of granularity that you're operating with. And nothing in, aside from maybe photolithography with doing transistors, nothing in human manufacturing is operating at anywhere near that level of precision. You're really like operating at the nuclear and atomic level.
Yeah.
And were you going to say something?
No, I just really like that call out, because it's like with biology, you can sort of achieve things at a scale that we just kind of can't right now.
Exactly, and you can create these fascinating metamaterials. If you think about muscles, like the only reason muscles work is because you can like lay, thousands of these very thin, very long fibers together that all kind of like bulk up or whatever, but it's like, it's this fantastic thing that's very complicated, and it produces this, it's a large structure, these macro structures out of a ton of these very precise and very fine-grained large, substructures essentially. So yeah. I don't know. I think there's going to be really powerful unlocks. Like we can create these metamaterials that all have all sorts of like that, that have this atomic level intricacies that we just can't even hope to do today.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe, I don't know. I mean, I realize we haven't been recording that long, but I feel like this chapter is sort of divided into these two halves. Sort of this historical and then discussion of the tools that we have or that we're developing in order to interact with biology. And it feels like the next half starts to get into like things we've actually achieved by using these tools. And so I'm thinking, what do you think about sort of calling it here and then covering the rest in another episode?
Yeah, there was one thing actually I wanted to call out. They didn't talk about this in the chapter, but this is something I had heard before that just was like hilarious about in the early days of genetic modification. So there's something called atomic gardening. Have you heard of this term before?
No, it sounds awesome.
You may have heard of this, but basically you would just like put a bunch of plants in front of like radioactive material, and you would be like, all right, well, we're just going to bake you in like this stuff that's probably going to change your DNA. And so like literally grapefruits today are like ruby red grapefruits, like those were created as a result of just like putting a grapefruit in front of this like radioactive thing.
No.
And then so this was like the super low tech. Well, I mean, it's funny because it's like obviously you need some sort of like radioactive isotope, but like they were just like the super kind of ham-fisted form of genetic engineering.
So did they have like a billion different grapefruits, and like most of them were like really gross
like
and mangled?
Had 3 eyes, yeah.
But then one is this like pristine ruby red.
One was like red, and you're like, all right, grab that one. Like,
dude, I love ruby red grapefruit. It's so good.
Yeah, you have atomic gardening to thank for ruby red grapefruit. So,
Speaking of grapefruit, do you ever eat it where you like peel off the skin around the like? I think they're called vesicles. You know, it's like a fruit like a grapefruit is like this big cluster of vesicles, but then those are sort of enclosed within a sheath of like inner skin. And a lot of time, like in an orange, you would just eat the inner skin, right?
yeah.
Like a mandarin orange. Like you wouldn't like peel off that little skin because it's like super thin and you barely taste it anyway. But in a grapefruit, if you peel off that inner skin and you just get this like chunk of vesicles, so good.
Ooh, okay. I might need to try that. You know, I haven't ever done that. But
It's
all right,
hard
well,
work.
on
You
that
can kind of
note-
do it with a paring knife. It's not too bad.
All right. Well, our listeners' homework, mine included, is to get yourself a pristine grapefruit vesicle chunk and eat it.
Eat it.
Chow down.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, I will see you next time for the second half of the technology of life.
The stunning conclusion.
Yeah.
See you, Matt.
See you then.